Lenin Villain, Liberty. This is one of the rare paintings by a woman artist. The revolutionary events made it possible for women to train with established painters and to exhibit their works in the saloon, which was an exhibition held every 2 years. The painting is a female allegory of liberty. That is, the female form symbolizes the idea of freedom. Give me analysis on the above picture. The painting Liberty by Lenin Villain is a female allegory of liberty, which was a popular theme during the French Revolution. The female form in the painting represents the concept of freedom, and her posture and dress emphasizes this message. The woman is depicted standing with her left foot forward, her body leaning slightly to the right, and her right arm raised with a Phrygian cap, which was a symbol of liberty during the French Revolution. Her dress is flowing and suggests movement, which reinforces the idea of freedom. The background of the painting is filled with clouds and a blue sky, which suggests a sense of vastness and openness, further emphasizes the idea of freedom. The painting uses muted colors and soft brush strokes, which are typical of the neoclassical style popular during the time of the French Revolution. The fact that the painting was created by a woman artist at a time when women were just beginning to gain recognition in the art world adds an additional layer of meaning to the work. The painting can be seen as a representation of the progress and liberation that women were experiencing during this period. Overall, Liberty by Lenin Villain is a powerful representation of the idea of freedom conveyed through the use of symbolism, posture, and color. It is also an important example for the contribution of women artists during the time of the French Revolution. The revolutionary government sought to mobilize the loyalty of its subjects through various means. One of them was the staging of festivals like this one. Symbols from civilizations of ancient Greece and Rome were used to convey the aura of a hallowed history. The pavilion on the raised platform in the middle, carried by classical columns, was made of perishable material that could be dismantled. Describe the groups of people, their clothes, their roles and actions. What impression of a revolutionary festival does this image convey? Give analysis on the above picture. The description suggests that the image depicts a festival organized by the revolutionary government to mobilize loyalty among its subjects. The festival uses symbols from ancient Greek and Roman civilizations to create an aura of hallowed history. The pavilion in the middle is constructed of perishable material that can be dismantled. It is likely that the people in the image were dressed in clothing that is reminiscent of ancient Greek or Roman attire, further reinforcing the theme of the festival. Some individuals may be dressed in military or government uniforms to indicate their roles in the revolutionary government. There may be also performers, musicians, or other individuals tasked with entertaining the crowds. Overall, the image likely conveys a sense of grandeur and spectacle with the use of classical symbols and the large pavilion creating a sense of importance and significance. The fact that the pavilion is made of perishable material that can be dismantled suggests that the festival is temporary, but also emphasizes the power and authority of the revolutionary government in organizing such an event. The presence of performers and entertainers further underscores the government's efforts to mobilize support and loyalty from its subjects. The painting Marat Addressing the People by Louis Leopold Boilly depicts the revolutionary figure Jean-Paul Marat addressing a group of people. Marat was a prominent figure during the French Revolution and played a significant role in the radicalization of the revolution. He was a fervent supporter of the sans-culottes, the working class citizens of France, and used his newspaper L'Ami du Peuple, Friend of the People, to rally support for the revolutionary cause. In the painting, Marat is depicted with his arm raised, passionately speaking to a group of people gathering around him. He is dressed in simple clothing, reflecting his association with the sans-culottes. The scene around him is chaotic and crowded with people pushing and shoving to get closer to Marat and hear his words. Some of the people appear to be holding up their fists in solidarity with Marat, while others are raising their arms in excitement. Marat's great popularity among the working class citizens of France can be attributed to his unyielding support for their cause. He was a champion of the oppressed and worked tirelessly to expose corruption and injustice within the government. His newspaper was widely read and provided a platform for the voiceless to express their grievance. In the saloon, a painting like this would likely have elicited strong reactions from viewers. Those sympathetic to the revolutionary cause may have been inspired by Marat's passion and commitment to the cause, while others may have been horrified by the chaos and disorder depicted in the scene. Some may have viewed Marat as a hero, while others may have seen him a dangerous radical. Overall, the painting Marat Addressing the People captures the fervor and intensity of the French Revolution and the role played by one of its most prominent figures. The London poor in the mid-19th century as seen by a contemporary. From Henry Mayhew, London Labour and the London Poor, 1861. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The image is described as being from Henry Mayhew's book, London Labour and the London Poor, which was published in 1861. The book is a detailed examination of the lives of the poor in London during the mid-19th century, and the image likely provides a visual representation of Mayhew's observation. The image may show impoverished individuals in London during this time period. It is likely that the individuals depicted in the image are experiencing significant hardship, as Mayhew's book is known for its depiction of the extreme poverty and difficult living conditions of the poor in London. The image may offer insight into the living conditions, clothing, and physical appearance of the individuals depicted, as well as the broader social and economic context in which they live. Overall, the image is likely a powerful representation of the struggles faced by the poor in London during this time period and may offer important historical insights into poverty and social inequality. Europe in 1914. The map shows the Russian Empire and the European countries at war during the First World War. Give me an analysis on the above picture. In 1914, Europe was divided into several powerful empires, including the British, French, German, Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires. Tensions were high among these empires due to their competing economic and territorial interests, as well as their desire to maintain their status as world powers. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Siberian nationalist in June 1914 was the spark that lightened the First World War. Austria-Hungary, with the support of Germany, declared war on Serbia, which then triggered a series of alliances and declarations of war between other European powers. Russia, an ally of Serbia, mobilized its troops and entered the war against Austria-Hungary and Germany. The war quickly escalated into a global conflict, with countries from around the world joining in on both sides. The war lasted for 4 years, resulting in the deaths of millions of people and the destruction of much of Europe. It ultimately led to the collapse of several empires, including the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, and Russian empires, and paved the way for the rise of new world powers. In conclusion, the map of Europe in 1914 represents a snapshot for the complex political and economic landscape that existed before the outbreak of the World War I. The war had a profound impact on Europe and the world, shaping the course of history for years to come. Workers sleeping in bunkers in a dormitory in pre-revolutionary Russia. They slept in ships and could not keep their families with them. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The photograph depicts a group of workers sleeping in a bunker in a dormitory in pre-revolutionary Russia. The workers are showing lying on their coats, with some asleep and others appearing to be awake. The dormitory appears to be crowded, with little space between the beds. The image highlights the harsh working and living conditions that many workers in pre-revolutionary Russia faced. The fact that the workers had to sleep in ships suggests that the dormitory was likely overcrowded and the workers had limited space to themselves. Additionally, the fact that workers could not keep their families with them further underscores the difficult circumstances under which they lived and worked. The photograph also suggests a lack of privacy and autonomy for the workers. They were required to sleep in a communal dormitory and could not maintain their own individual spaces. This lack of privacy likely had an impact on their mental and emotional well-being, as well as their ability to form strong bonds with others. Overall, the photograph captures the difficult and often inhuman living conditions that many workers in pre-revolutionary Russia faced. It provides insight into the challenges that workers faced during this period and highlights the need for better living and working conditions. The July Days, a pro-Bolshevik demonstration on 17 July 1917 being fired upon by the army. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The image depicts a scene from the July Days of 1917, a significant event in the Russian Revolution. The July Days were a period of political unrest and protest that occurred in Petrograd between 3rd and 7th July 1917. In the image, we see a large crowd of people demonstrating in support of the Bolsheviks on 17th July 1917. The Bolsheviks were a radical socialist group led by Vladimir Lenin, who were advocating for an end to the war, the redistribution of land, and the transfer of powers to the workers and peasants. However, the demonstration is being fired upon by the army, indicating that the government was using violence means to suppress the unrest. This suppression was likely due to the fear of the government losing control, and the protests were gaining monument and support from various groups including soldiers and sailors. The July Days ultimately ended in failure for the Bolsheviks as the government regained control and many of their leaders were arrested or forced to flee. However, the event marked a turning point in the Russian Revolution and paved the way for the Bolsheviks to gain power in the October Revolution later that year. In summary, the image captures a moment of political turmoil and violence during the July Days of 1971, highlighting the tension between the Bolsheviks and the government and the use of force to suppress dissent. Factory dining hall in the 1930s. Give me an analysis on the above picture. During 1930s, many factories had their own dining hall where workers could eat lunch and take a break from their jobs. These dining halls were often large spaces with long tables and benches designed to accommodate a large number of people at once. The style of the dining hall in a factory setting during the 1930s would have been functional rather than decorative, with an emphasis on efficiency and cost effectiveness. The walls and floors may have been plain and utilitarian with minimal decoration or ornamentation. The workers would likely have been seated in rows facing each other along long tables with little privacy or personal space. The food served in the dining hall would have been basic and simple, designed to provide sustenance rather than government cuisine. Overall, the dining hall in a factory setting during the 1930s would have been a functional and utilitarian space designed to provide workers with a quick and affordable meal during their workday. This is a rally organized by the radical group known as Spartastic League. In the winters of 1918 to 1919, the streets of Berlin were taken over by the people. Political demonstrations became common. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The picture shows a rally in Berlin organized by the Spartastic League, a radical socialist group in the winter of 1918-1919. The group was formed by Karl Liebknecht and Rosa Luxemburg, two leading figures of German left-wing movement. The picture shows a large crowd of people gathering in a public square with many holding signs and banners advocating for socialistic ideals. The signs suggest that the rally was organized in opposition to the ruling government and the capitalist system, with slogans such as "Down with the bourgeois government" and "Workers Unite." The presence of police officers in the background suggests that the rally was being monitored and that the government was likely concerned about the potential for unrest or even violence. This is not surprising, given that the Spartakists League was known for its militant tactics and its willingness to challenge the government directly. Overall, the picture provides a glimpse into the political climate of Berlin during this period and highlights the growing tensions between different factions of the left-wing movement. The rally organized by the Spartakists League was just one of many that took place during this time, as people across Germany became increasingly vocal in their demands for social and economic change. Homeless men queuing up for a night shelter, 1923. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The photograph depicts a line of homeless men queuing up for a night shelter in 1923. Here is an analysis of the picture. Context. The picture was taken in 1923, a time when homelessness was a prevalent issue in many urban areas. Homeless shelters were often overcrowded and people had to wait in long lines to secure a spot for the night. Composition. The photograph is composed in a way that draws attention to the long line of them waiting for shelter. The line stretches from the foreground to the background, emphasizing the scale of the issue. The men are standing close together, suggesting that the shelter is overcrowded. Emotions. The expressions on the face of the men are difficult to discern, but their body language suggests exhaustion and weariness. They are standing with their heads down, hands in their pockets or crossed in front of them, and their bodies slumped forward. This gives a sense of resignation and hopelessness. Social commentary. The photograph serves a social commentary on the issue of homelessness in 1920. It highlights the struggles of those who were unable to secure housing and were forced to rely on overcrowded shelters. It also brings attention to the inadequate resources available to address the problem. Historical significance. The photograph has historical significance as it provides a glimpse into the living conditions of the urban poor in the early 20th century. It is a reminder of the challenges that have existed and still exist for vulnerable populations and the need for ongoing efforts to address homelessness and poverty. Overall, the picture provides a poignant and powerful representation of the struggles of homelessness people and the limitations of the resources available to support them. When the Valleys Were Full, painted by John Dawson. Native Americans, like the Lakota tribe who lived in the great North American plains, had a diversified economy. They cultivated maize, foraged for wild plants and hunted bison. Keeping vast area open for bison to range in was seen by English settlers as wasteful. after the 1860s, the bisons were killed in large numbers. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The Lakota tribe, like many Native American societies, had a complex and sustainable relationship with their environment. They relied on a combination of hunting, gathering, and agriculture to provide for their needs. For example, they cultivated maize using sustainable farming techniques such as crop rotation and intercropping with other plants to maintain soil fertility. The bison was a crucial resource for the Lakota, providing them with food, clothing, shelter, and other materials. However, the arrival of European settlers in the 19th century brought about dramatic changes to the Great Plains ecosystem. The settlers viewed the bison as a hindrance to their own economic activities such as ranching and farming and hunted them in large numbers. This caused a devastating decline in the bison population from an estimated 30 million in the early 1800s to fewer than 1,000 by the end of the century. The loss of the bison had far-reaching effects on the Lakota and other Native American societies as well as on the ecology of the Great Plains. It disrupted traditional ways of life, created food shortages, and caused social and cultural upheaval. In addition, the loss of the bison had ecological consequences such as soil erosion and changes in the vegetation patterns of the plains. Overall, the history of the Lakota and the bison serves as a reminder of the complex and interconnected relationships between humans and the environment and the consequences of disrupting those relationships. Transporting grain in agriculture. Gopal Chintapalli. Bringing grains from the threshing grounds to the field. The men are carrying grain in the baskets from the threshing fields. Men carry the baskets slung on a pole across their shoulders, while women carry the baskets on their heads. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The picture depicts a scene from a traditional agricultural setting where men and women are transporting grains from the threshing grounds to the field. The men are carrying the baskets filled with grain slung on a pole across their shoulders, while the women are carrying the baskets on their heads. The use of baskets to carry the grain indicates that this is likely a manual and labor-intensive process. The fact that the men and women are carrying the baskets differently may reflect traditional gender roles and expectations. The men are carrying the baskets using a more physically demanding method, which may be seen as a display of strength, while the women are carrying the baskets on their heads, which is a technique commonly used by women in many cultures and can demonstrate their physical dexterity and balance. The setting is rural and the landscape appears to be arid with little vegetation visible in the background. The picture suggests that agriculture is an important source of livelihood for the community depicted. The use of traditional methods and techniques for transporting the grain may also suggest that the community has limited access to modern technology and equipment. Overall, the picture provides a glimpse into the traditional agricultural practice and gender roles in a rural community. Shifting cultivation explained. Burning the forest penda or podu plot. In shifting cultivation, a clearing is made in the forest, usually on the slopes of hills. After the trees have been cut, they are burnt to provide ashes. The seeds are then scattered in the area and left to be irrigated by the rain. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The picture shows an example of shifting cultivation, also known as slash and burn agriculture, which is a traditional farming method used by some indigenous communities around the world. In this particular instance, a forest area has been cleared by cutting down trees, and the resulting debris is being burned to provide nutrients to the soil in the form of ashes. Shifting cultivation is often used in areas where the soil is poor and lacks the necessary nutrients to sustain crops. By burning the organic matter, the ash that is left behind can provide the necessary nutrients to the soil, allowing crops to grow for a few years before the cycle is repeated in a different area. While this method can be sustainable when practiced on a small scale, it can become unsustainable and lead to deforestation and soil degradation when done on a large scale. The process of clearing and burning a plot of land can also release large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. In summary, the picture shows an example of shifting cultivation, a traditional farming method used by some indigenous communities to cultivate crops in areas with poor soil. While this method can be sustainable when practiced on a small scale, it can lead to deforestation and soil degradation when done on a large scale, and it can contribute to climate change through carbon emissions. Count the dead tigers in the photo. When British colonial officials and Rajas went hunting, they were accompanied by a whole retinue of servants. Usually, the tracking was done by skilled village hunters, and the Sahib simply fired the shot. Give me an analysis on the picture. During the British colonial period, hunting was a popular leisure activity among the British colonial officials and Rajas. Hunting parties were often accompanied by a large number of servants and skilled village hunters who tracked the animals. The British colonial officials usually only had to take the shot, and the rest of the work was left to the servants and hunters. Hunting in colonial times was not only a leisure activity but also a means of displaying power and control over the colonized people and animals. Many colonial officials saw hunting as a way of demonstrating their superiority over the local population and wildlife. It is important to note that hunting practices have evolved over time, and many countries have enacted laws and regulations to protect wildlife populations from overhunting and extinction. Today, many people view hunting as a controversial and unethical activity, and there are increasing calls for more responsible and sustainable hunting practice. A camel fair at Balotra in western Rajasthan. Camel herders come to the fair to sell and buy camels. The Maru Raikas also display their expertise in training their camels. Horses from Gujarat are also brought for sale at this fair. Give me an analysis on the above picture. The picture shows a scene from a camel fair in Balotra, a city located in western Rajasthan, India. The fair is a gathering place for camel herders who come to buy and sell camels. The fair also features the Maru Raikas, who showcase their skills in training camels. The Maru Raikas are a nomadic tribe of Rajasthan who were known for the expertise in camel breeding and training. The fair also includes the sale of horses from Gujarat. The picture provides a glimpse into the vibrant culture and economy of Rajasthan, which has a rich history of camel breeding and trading. The camel fair is an important event for the local economy as it provides an opportunity for camel herders to sell their animals and for buyers to purchase them. The fair also serves a platform for the Maru Raikas to showcase their unique skills and expertise in camel training. The presence of horses from Gujarat highlights the diversity of the fair and the range of animals that are traded and sold. Overall, the picture represents the importance of animals in the local economy and culture of Rajasthan and the significance of events such as the camel fair is sustaining this way of life. Pastoralists in India. This map indicates the location of only those pastoral communities mentioned in the chapter. There are many others living in various parts of India. As per the description provided, the map displays the locations of pastoral communities in India, specifically those that are mentioned in the chapter. It is important to note that there may be other pastoral communities not included in the map. The map highlights the widespread distribution of pastoral communities throughout India. These communities are primarily located in the western and northern regions of the country, including states such as Rajasthan, Gujarat, Punjab, and Jammu and Kashmir. The concentration of pastoral communities in these regions may be due to the availability of grazing lands, which are crucial for their livelihoods. The map also indicates the presence of pastoral communities in some parts of southern India, such as Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. It is important to note that the map does not provide information on the size or population of each pastoral community. Additionally, it is unclear if the map includes all types of pastoral communities, such as nomadic or transhuman communities. Overall, the map provides a useful visual representation of the distribution of pastoral communities in India, but further research and information would be required to fully understand the diversity and complexity of these communities. Pastoral communities in Africa. The inset shows the location of the Maasai in Kenya and Tanzania. The map shows the distribution of pastoral communities in Africa. The pastoral communities are those communities whose livelihoods are based on raising livestock. These communities are found in the arid and semi-arid regions of Africa, where agriculture is difficult due to limited rainfall. The map highlights several pastoral communities, including the Maasai people who are located in Kenya and Tanzania. The inset in the map shows the location of the Maasai people. The Maasai are known for their distinctive culture, which includes a semi-nomadic lifestyle and a strong attachment to their livestock. The map also shows other pastoral communities in Africa, including the Fulani in West Africa, the Samburu in Kenya, and the Borana in Ethiopia, and the Himba in Namibia. These communities have similar lifestyles and are often characterized by their close relationship with their livestock. Overall, the map shows the importance of pastoral communities in Africa and the need to understand their unique cultures and the way of life in order to develop effective policies and strategies for sustainable development in these regions.